My name is Sheila Chiru. Welcome to Visual Radio Heartbeats Talk Show. Today we have our very special guest who is none other than the very first Asian American Fort Bend County Judge in Texas, Judge Juli Mathew.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Today we have prepared some questions for you, Judge.
Okay.
The very first question. How do you remember your childhood?
I was born in India, and it was a very pleasant childhood. Just running around and enjoying nature and being, it's very green in the state of Kerala. So I truly enjoyed being a part of it, running around the streams and the rivers and all those type of things, and my cousins, and just having a lot of time in the outdoors. And I think that's what I remember most about my childhood.
Judge Juli, how do you decide to be a lawyer? How do you start the path to become a judge?
So, my own life experiences is why I decided to be an attorney. My parents hate me talking about it because within the Indian culture, it's negative to talk about anything. It's not very nice to talk about anything negative. So, but my dad did have a bad business relationship, and seeing their struggles, being first generation in the United States and being taken advantage of, I felt like if someone knows the law, the legal circumstances, or whatever the legal knowledge, if they had it, they're protected. So I never wanted to be in a position where somebody can take advantage of me or my family. So I felt law was the natural pursuit in regard to achieving that. And so, I've been a practicing attorney about 15 years before I decided to run. And the same thing, I felt that there was a need in Fort Bend County, that it was very stagnant. There's a judge, his father was the judge before him, so he retired and he became the judge. And it felt like a political dynasty. Like if your family didn't have some sort of connection, or if you're not already in the political scene, it was hard to break through. So I'm always the one, if I see something, if I feel like there's a change that needs to be done, Mahatma Gandhi's famous quote, that be the change that you want to see in this world. So this is my county, this is where I'm raising my children. I felt it was, people like me should also be on the bench. People who have the life experiences that I should also be on the bench. And the judicial bench should be reflective of the community. And Fort Bend County is a very diverse community, and it hadn't happened. So, and no one else had jumped in the race, and I said, I'm going to do it.
I'm so proud of you. Thanks for being the difference, Judge Juli. You are right. The Fort Bend County is a very beautiful county with a lot of diversity. And I even feel like back home. So thank you. Besides the judge, you are a mother and a wife. So how do you see the life between? How do you coordinate your life?
I'm not going to, it's not easy sometimes. As being a mother, being a wife, being a judge, and, there are days that I am exhausted. There are days that I'm tired. There's days that I had something horrible to deal with at work, that it may come across how I treat my kids, or, I'm not perfect always, obviously. But I try to be the best that I can be, and I try to be there for all of my family, like whether it be my husband or my children or my parents. I try to be available and, as much as I can to, make sure that everybody's taken care of. But it's not an easy task at times, I have to say.
That is true. So here you go, as a beautiful mother and a responsible wife.
Thank you.
Then going to... what was your first day? How was your first day as a judge?
Almost surreal. One of the other judges that I met during the campaign trail, who also took the bench with me, recorded it, and I remember just getting on and just seeing a sea of people, because you are the face that everyone sees, and so it was very surreal, and absolutely, I just realized the responsibility that's on my shoulders, as well as just I was humbled by the grace of God upon my life, and that's how nothing else can describe it. I was very thankful to be sitting in that bench and thankful for this gift that God had given me.
Okay. What was the very first thing you did when you found out you were elected to a Fort Bend County judge?
So I still remember I was, I'll actually start from a little bit before. So on the last day of elections, that Tuesday of elections itself, I'm standing in Cinco Ranch Library, and I see that the Republicans who were there, my opposing party, were packing up to leave around 6 o'clock, and I was like, well, the polls doesn't close at 7, but if they're leaving, I'm exhausted and tired, and because it's been early voting all those days. I was standing outside, so standing out all those hours, I was exhausted. So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave too, because if they're gone, there's no point in it. I got to my parents' house around 6:45. I pulled into the driveway. I called my mom and I said, I'm too tired. Can you bring the kids out to my car? And so I have one leg outside the door. I'm sitting in, and the results hadn't come in. So I refreshed the website where you get the results. So it came up, I believe it was like, my opponent had like 82,000 and I had like 95,000.
Okay.
And so I was looking at the difference and I was like, wow, that's from early voting. And I was like, if that's the difference, about 13,000, there's no way that she's going to make up the difference on the day of voting itself.
Okay.
So I just screamed. I jumped out of the car. I got on my hands and knees. I was like, thank you, Jesus. Because honestly, it is. I mean, I truly believe God's hand was upon my life. And that's why, because during the whole entire race, I was told, you're not going to win, you're not going to win. And recently, I was even in Chicago to visit my first cousin. And he was telling me, an uncle that's here told him, yeah, it's Republican. She's not going to win. She's not going to win. So, just to prove all those, like not to prove, but just everybody's expectation of what was going to happen in the race was not what came to be or what bore fruit in this. And so I'm very thankful for this. And like a friend of mine recently shared, I had a volunteer meeting in the beginning of the campaign, and she had come to it with her daughter. Her name is Sumana. And she had come to it with her daughter, and she was sitting there, and there were two other people there who were familiar with campaigns and how they're run. And here I am a rookie. I've never ran a campaign. I've never run a race. This was my first, step. Yeah, this was my first step into the political arena. And so there were two people who were there, and they're like, oh, Juli didn't do this, Juli didn't do that, she's not doing this should be this way. And they were just not criticizing, but kind of just talking about things. And they had at some point said, I guess at least she can get her name out there, and the next time she runs. Like, I'm not going to win this time, but the next time she runs.
So there was
And
negative feedbacks.
I mean, there were all those things. I mean, they didn't tell me about it till after the race, but I mean, people were telling me to my face I was going to lose, so it was no different than what they were thinking behind. But, to be now sitting on the bench, it's almost a year, and to be able to have done what I set out to do, I truly am thankful. Again, that's the key word that I can say for 2019 is thankful.
Is there any incidents which touch you? It could be inside the court or outside the court.
So there's a lot that we come across in the courtroom, especially dealing with juveniles. they are, come from really difficult backgrounds. Maybe their parents didn't have a great background to begin with, so these children are not given the best background, so they end up, committing crimes, or they get, human trafficked or sexually assaulted and all those type of things. So being a mother, sometimes I have to sit there and listen and do what's best for them, because there's actually no one else to do what's best for them. So, I mean, on every Monday, I deal with juveniles.
Okay.
It's the first thing I do on a Monday morning docket. And then in the afternoon, I deal probate. Probate is when people die. So, I'm dealing with the young the very first thing in the morning, and in the afternoon, I'm dealing with death and, those who may be incapacitated or is not able to handle their affairs. So Monday for me is, at the end of the day, I'm pretty exhausted.
I see that. Yes. Mondays usually, for everyone itself, it's like a lazy day. Is your political beliefs influence your verdict?
Absolutely not. So I am a judge first, which means that I have to uphold the law of the United States, of the state, as well as the local rules. So my job as a judge is to sit and properly rule according to what the law says, and nothing more.
As a judge, could you help a community or the families as a person?
So in regard to helping people, I believe I'm always in the community and always helping, lending a helping hand. But in regard to legal issues, I cannot touch anything that's an active case, and I cannot practice as an attorney. So I cannot give any sort of legal advice. So I'm constantly put in this conundrum where people will call me and say, what can we do, or what should I do? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't give any legal advice at all, because then I'm practicing law, and that's one of the things that I would be breaking the judicial ethics code.
Inspiring more youth to becoming a lawyers.
So I believe that every time that I am out, that's what I'm doing. There are, I am invited to public events and things where I'm able to speak about my experiences. And I hope definitely that, although I'm the first Asian American in Fort Bend County, not to be the last. So I definitely hope that I inspire others to follow, choose careers of law. And if not, become judges, become something, get into politics. And really, I think if you have a servant's heart, if you want to serve your community, and if you want to serve people, I think this is a great avenue to be, because you really have to care for people, I think. Otherwise, to hold public office, I don't think it's fair if you really don't have the community's best interest at heart.
Seen you going to the community schools and the shows, which is also very inspiring, like the other kids and who want to be in the judge. Suppose if you go into the future, you elected as a judge again, or is there any limitation to be how many years to be in the judge?
So the position that I'm in is one of the county courts. There's 6 of us. And so my position is that it's every 4 years that you have to run.
Okay.
But there is no term limit and there's no age limit. So if I decided to stay in this position for the next 24 years like my predecessor did, there's nothing to stop me.
I wish you all the very
Other than
best.
an opponent who won't win.
I wish you the very best to stay as an honorable judge for the Fort Bend County forever. It's a season of joy. So what is your fond memories of Christmas?
I guess the most vivid that I truly experienced in my life in regard to Christmas is my first Christmas in the U.S. I was 10 years old and we had just come from India to Chicago, middle of winter. It's cold.
Right.
And My cousin drove us to the Sears Tower, which was the largest building at the time in Chicago, and going up to see it and seeing the poinsettias and the Christmas trees and just the beauty everywhere, the lights and all of those things. To a child, it was just, I was like fascinated and mesmerized by it. And truly, that was probably my greatest memory in regard to Christmas, is experiencing Christmas in the United States.
Awesome. I could see that you are also already in the Christmas spirit. I see the colors, but what do you wear under the robes?
Usually it's always the same exact thing. I usually have a jacket or a dress. I don't, I try to keep as much professional as I can, or semi-casual, but there are days that I have, had a casual day where I have worn jeans. But so it's really up to us what we want to wear under the robe. We can wear as dressy as we want to be, or as down to earth as we want to be.
Totally perfect. You got to be relaxed and sitting on the bench. In times of difficulty, how do you continue to forward?
Well, I truly believe, I've said this at several places, the path to success is the same road. How you handle that situation is what determines the outcome that you're going to get. We're all going to have difficult situations. We're all going to have situations where we don't know what to do next. We may not be able to figure out or see what's ahead, but keep moving and keep going forward. There's always, I believe, a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think being positive, and even when you don't want to be, even when you don't feel like it, even when circumstances may be against you, to be positive and just take that next step. Sometimes things, everything in life is a risk. So we never know what tomorrow is. And, and we're all only have one breath. So I say, live the best that you can. And even if you fall and stumble, get back up and try again. That is, get back up, I think, is the best advice that I can give anybody.
Would you act like a judge at home too, with the kids?
No,
Especially
I don't
with
think
the
so. There are times my husband has said, "You're not the judge here," but no, I definitely not. I'm very much, I do have a type A personality. I like the things that I like, the way that I like. My husband's probably the only one that I cannot get away with those things. But I'm just me. There's nothing, I think I am very genuine. I'm sincere. And I don't think I change from wherever I am. My personality is my personality.
How you treat us as a community?
So right before I came to this interview, I got a call from a friend of mine who was asking me, can you come to this event? And so I remember when I was running last year, I went to this event. It was actually held in November 2 years ago, prior to the elections. I went to this event, and one of the priests of one of the churches introduced me, and there was an uncle who was there who got up and yelled at the priest and said, "This is not the time nor the place to introduce her." And I was thinking, what's a big deal? Why disrespect a priest in the middle of a function for introducing me? Because where else would I go other than to my own community to reach out and ask for help in getting me elected as a judge? So this year, I was called to ask, will you come? We'd like to honor you.
Oh, wow.
So to have that, and I truly, what else can I say? Thank you, God. Because to be put in a place where you're almost embarrassed and then insulted, and then at the same place that you're getting invited back to be honored, but nothing else but God.
It is. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. It's part of, it's part of running a campaign. There were people that told me, no, you can't have my vote. There was, I was standing outside one of the grocery stores. It's closed now, but there used to be a Randall's or Kroger in the New Territory area. And I was standing outside the grocery store, and there were two ladies that walked by, and they were of Asian descent as well. And I asked them for their vote, and she started yelling at me at the top of her lungs, like, "I'm not going to vote for a communist. You're about to destroy our country." And when you're just like flabbergasted, you don't know what to say. At the end, I remember just hearing and her creating a scene, which I was surprised that another Asian American would do that. At the end, I said, "You know what? I'm going to be your judge."
Right.
And that's all I said.
There you go.
And so,
there you go. Yeah. So I like the way you accept the criticism. question is, when you were going for through the election as a judge, right? Being a woman candidate, did you ever have to go through? I know you mentioned a little bit, but did you ever go through really tough times?
I mean, being a female, I think you have a lot more on your plate, and it's an unfortunate thing within us, our community, especially. You know, there's a lot more responsibility that I felt that I had as a mother, because I had a 6-month-old, I had a 2-year-old, and I had, well, year and a half at the time, and then I had a almost teenager. So not only did I have to juggle their school, I had to juggle my schedule, being a full-time attorney, and then also, like, there was a party that I went to, a Christmas party that I went to, and it was an ugly sweater Christmas party. And this was, I went there, and there was a, she was Indian, actually, a North Indian, and she approached me, and she was telling me about a city councilman in Sugarland who's of Indian descent. She's like, oh, well, he's probably not going to run again. And I was like, why is that? And she's like, well, he has a young child. And I was like, well, what does that mean exactly? Because I have young kids. And she's like, well, his wife probably wants him home to help with the kid. And I was like, well, as long as the children or child are taken care of, what does it matter? And she's like, well, I had my mom take care of me. I didn't have my grandparents raising me. And it bothered me for about 3 weeks. But I was like, and I just told her, I was like, what does it matter as long as the child knows that they're loved and taken care of, and that, I mean, I'm doing this, for me at the time, I'm doing this for my children. They're not, when they look at my kids, I don't want them to be viewed as a foreigner. And we have to, for me, we had to put down our roots in this country. And for us to do that is to get into the political arena, to be active members of our community and say, yes, may not be what you consider an American to be. My skin color may not be what you immediately see as an American, but I am, and this is who, my kids are, and this is our future, and we're going to play a part in our future in this country, and we're going to have a say in what happens to us.
God bless America.
Absolutely.
This is the beauty of America, treating everyone, and everyone have the right to do anything they want to, anything they wanted to grow up. Absolutely.
And I want to point out one more thing. So, you asked me anything different as a woman. For example, KP George was the county judge, and I had to run together. So KP could go from one event to the next wearing a suit.
Right.
For me, that was not possible. So if I had to go to a Hindu event, I had to be mindful. A Sikh event, I had to be mindful. A Muslim event, I had to be mindful. Or a Christian event, or just any campaign event. Sometimes I would be block walking in my T-shirt and the jeans, and the next would be I would have to speak at a house at a fundraiser event or something. Then I would have to change into a different outfit. So as a female, I think, there's those things too that you have to be mindful of. How you go inside. What you wear also makes a difference as to, because you want to connect with whoever you're talking to. And this community being so diverse, you want to be respectful and mindful and also be able to connect. So I think I really tried that in every aspect that I can help myself in.
I actually see that in you as a woman. You're respecting the culture and mindful to where you're going. That doesn't mean the men now not care about the culture.
No, but they, wearing a suit, you can,
Right, taking time and being, that is so nice of you. Actually, America is the only country, it says, in God we trust. So I have seen that in all your replies, that in God, it's God's willing, it's God help me doing, God. So I think you are absolutely perfect for the position. In God we trust. Especially the symbol is the just, right?
So as much as I am a Christian, I also believe in every other religion in this country having the freedom to worship, because this is a melting pot. This is, we have Muslims, we have Hindus, we have Sikhs, and our founding fathers made it so very clear of freedom of worship. And the Quakers left, England for that very reason, because they didn't have the freedom to worship. So I think our Constitution is such a great document. To honor it is, my privilege as a judge.
For the viewers like you, what is your advice, especially to the youth, adults, no matter, regardless of age?
Well, I think one of the things that I see in the juveniles in my court, there's a lot of disrespect towards establishment, towards teachers, towards parents. And so a lot of them, I feel like maybe they didn't get that basic guidance at home, but the lack of respect for the person that brought you into this world, I think that is, to me, unfathomable. Like, so I tell them, respect authority. You have to, you're in school and that's a certain rule, then follow the rule. Not just, you're not at a place to rebel back. There is a time and place to be rebellious or, to stand up to things. But I think it's very important for young people to really respect authority. Like, there are people who have walked into my courtroom, and when when before the judge comes in, the bailiff says, all rise. And there are people who are so hesitant to get up. But that is, and my bailiff is very serious about it. He'll tell them, get out. So,
Okay. So, as a judge, not only to America, for world, like, is there anything you can do as a message? You can give a message to the whole people. Who's
so
listening?
truly, I
Hopefully.
believe, there's only one of you in this world, and you only have one life to live. So live the best that you can. Be the best that you can. There is, sometimes the only obstacle in our path is ourselves. And dream big and go out and accomplish. There is nothing to stop you. The world really, there is that Bond movie, I believe, the world is your oyster. So just take chances and, whatever limitations you have, if you can overcome, go towards overcoming those.
It's truly first for our community, not only in our community, first Asian American elected judge for the Fort Bend County. I'm pretty sure people are still congratulating you. And sometimes people congratulating me thinking that you, as me. Pardon?
I think
So,
we were at
uh-huh.
the reason Stafford, after the last Stafford school board elections, we were at their meeting, and I went with one of my friends, and she was there, and they thought she was me, and so they were saying, hi, Judge, can I have a picture with you? And she, of course, she obliged. But
Yeah,
I was like,
see
did you tell them
that.
you weren't me? And she's like, no. So,
All Indians look alike, all Asians look alike. So, Judge Julie, I would like to say thank you for
Thank you.
coming, taking your time and meeting with us and sharing the time with the viewers. Viewers, we also thank you. Wish you the very best.